Welcome to Soundcheck with Pastor Isaac. We're doing another session with Pastor Gary. Let somebody know he's here in the house and that we want you to share this message to somebody because this is for you, but it's for somebody else too. So let them know that Pastor Gary is back.
Praise the Lord. Pastor Isaac was just sharing with me. I go off the cuff on some things, and some things I wanted to be able to share, and I'm just sharing some things on my heart because when we're talking about people doing ministry, this is what God has been working with me on, and just in how I'm learning how to do ministry better and understanding ministry. There's a apostle used to do it all the time, and I kind of learned from him. We had Bible study on Thursday night. Now I'm gonna tell you, we did more church back in the day because we had midweek service on Tuesday, and that was 7 o'clock until it was no end time of it. It was until the Holy Spirit said, this is it. Then we would come back on Thursday for Bible study,
Right.
and that was Apostle Day. Some people used to say Bible study was grown people's service because it was always a smaller crowd of people,
Right.
and it was those ones who wanted to dig into the Word just a little bit more. And Apostle used to spend his time preparing those messages. He was preaching on Tuesday. He was doing Bible study on Thursdays, and then he was preaching again on Sundays.
Right.
And our Sundays even we would have Sunday school. Starting at 9:30, and then 11 o'clock, 11:30, we would go into morning service. We were staying there till 2:30. Then we would go home, eat, come back at 6 o'clock for service, and we had a broadcast that we broadcast. I think from 6 to 7, and then after that we had church. So all my friends used to say to me when we were younger, man, all y'all do is go to church all the time. We had more days at church than we did at home. Because in between those days, Wednesday was choir rehearsal. Friday night was your kind of sort of a free night, but a lot of times we made Friday night youth night. So you had young people stuff that's happening. Back when I was younger, we used to have choir practice on Saturday. So basically every day except for Monday was a day that we went into doing different things in ministry.
Okay.
And if you were a part of every last one of those ministries, like I was, because I was not only a drummer, but I was a young person, so I was involved in youth stuff. So every day I was at church except for Mondays.
Okay.
And when we talk about ministry, I want to talk about you can get burned out in ministry so easy. Because you're doing stuff all the time. And it's always that same handful of people
Right.
that's doing almost everything. Whereas if you got a bunch of people together and everybody was doing stuff and you distribute the weight of the ministry out, then it's a lot easier to be able to handle it and you can do it a lot longer. Apostle Foreman was doing it for 53 years
Right.
before he handed it over to me. And you can't do it for 53 years if you don't delegate something to somebody else to be able to do it. And I share with people all the time. I share with my staff, and I think I've shared with some other leaders. I haven't shared it recently. But you got to be able to, Apostle like to say, and not only Apostle Hankins, but Chief Apostle Foreman, stay in your lane. And understanding your lane. And sometimes you cannot stay in your lane. Sometimes as a senior pastor, especially during the pandemic, I had to be in a bunch of different lanes. And I'm going to tell you, just trying to fill out those bunch of different lanes was not good. It was hard. And I realized, I told you before, it put a lot of pressure on my marriage because I was like, we don't do this, church ain't going to stay together. And I had to realize, and sitting down and praying to the Lord said, if you died today, the church will still be going on. So it's not you can be busy as you want to be. Because you stop doing stuff don't mean that the church is going to stop.
Okay.
But you need to know where God is leading you and direct you in ministry. Apostle used to tell me all the time, because I used to be in 5 different ministries. I was in youth ministry, I was in men's ministry, I was in the praise ministry, I was in the recreation ministry. Just about every ministry was there. They even tried to get me in the women's ministry. They thought I was there, but because Lady O, my mom, was a Lady O, the power-filled woman,
right.
I was kind of sucked into that whole thing. But Apostle sat me down and said, son, pick one that you want to be in. And it came out of conflict. It didn't come out of this great wisdom that was happening. He got, he got a bunch of complaints about me because I'm a fun kind of guy. I like to have fun. I like to make some jokes. I like to laugh. And there were some folks that were serious about ministry. And so when I came in with my happy joy and making jokes and stuff, they didn't like that I wasn't serious about ministry. Right. And I'm like, I'm serious, but I still like to have fun.
But I don't think Jesus was a serious guy like that either. I think he drew a lot of people to him because of the personality that God had in him and his spirit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised if they were able to walk around with Jesus, how much they would have enjoyed his company.
Right.
Because he's not as uptight as a lot of us are.
Right.
I've walked with some preachers and they are very uptight, just hanging around with Apostle and walking around with some of those preachers that he used to walk around with. Man, I would let him tell his own story.
Right,
But he used to tell me the stories. And I used to sit down and was like, man, if that's what being saved is, I don't know if I want to be saved. I don't even know if I want to preach if I got to do all this, because I was like, I can't do it. I didn't see myself being like those guys were, ministry-wise. So I said,
I'm going to jump in right there. You got to be who God has placed in you to be. I can't preach like you or apostle or even want to or try to, because I'm different. And God needs to bring something out in me to the people the way that I bring it. So you can only do what you do. And so you couldn't transform yourself into your dad.
Right.
You had to be yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of people want you to preach like somebody. And a lot of ministries, a lot of churches hire preachers because of their profile. They preach this way and they like a certain style, so they bring them in there for that particular style. And I used to say I could imitate a lot of preachers. Back when I was younger, I used to say, okay, so and so preach like this,
right.
And I could do a lot of imitation. So people say, oh yeah, you can preach. That just because I can mock somebody and imitate them, don't mean that that's an anointed preacher.
Right, it's not the flow God has for you.
Right, exactly. And I learned that, and most of the time I was making mockery of it, not making mockery to make fun of it, but just saying, oh yeah, I can do it. I've been around it long enough to be able to do this like this.
Right.
And you glean from people's characters. And now I've learned in ministry, the only character I want to be able to glean from is the character of Jesus.
That's it.
I want to be able to glean his character and be able to do ministry. But here's where a lot of people in ministry need to get a breakthrough. Because a lot of times in ministry, we were like, okay, somebody ain't doing something. A lot of people in ministry will pick up other people's fumbled balls. And okay, that's a football analogy. Let me go to another one that I used to use. And what I learned, and I'm not sure where I learned it from. It was a conference that I went to and learned it. And it might be with ACE Christian Education. But he was like, I learned it from him. He was like, you cannot, in your ministry, if you see your ministry as a monkey, you cannot feed other people's monkeys.
Yeah, that was AC. That was Accelerated
ACE,
Christian Education.
Yeah. And because what will happen is you begin to pick up different people's ministries because somebody ain't doing it. They not doing it. It's like, well, you can't let it fall through. My wife and I just had this conversation, Lady T and I. We had this conversation about, because I keep on telling her, you need to learn how to rest. Well, and her thing, and I understand what you're saying, because she's behind the scenes doing a lot of stuff. She don't want to be out in front.
Right.
She like to be behind the scenes. But sometimes she's doing so much because she wanted to be right. She wanted to be perfect. She likes things to be perfect. And I was like, sometimes things are not going to be perfect. Right. And sometimes, just like we were talking about that mess, sometimes just let it be messy in the message. But there's a message in the mess. If you work on that. So, but the whole thing about it is a lot of people get burnt out in ministry. You go look for them. What happened to you, man? Where are you? And you got to find them because they got so many people's monkeys that they're carrying, and they got these bananas they trying to feed everybody's monkey that won't never supposed to be their monkey to feed.
Right.
And so and you'll pick it up because you'll look and see, well, ain't nobody doing that. Well, just because ain't nobody doing it don't mean you're supposed to do it.
Right.
And
sometimes it's not time.
Yeah. But sometimes people will bring you over, Pastor Isaac. They will bring you over their monkey and say, Pastor, I can't do this. I'm giving this monkey to you. And what we do as in the ministry, in the fivefold ministry, is we think that we're doing God a favor by taking that monkey because somebody else said, I can't do it no more. Okay, if you can't do it. And we have to learn how to say, this is not my monkey.
Right.
And I already got the monkey God gave me. And I'm feeding this monkey. If I'm feeding all these monkeys, pretty soon somebody else will see you. It seems like the people who are the most busiest are the people who get put on to do more stuff, called on to do more stuff. And so they get other people's monkeys, stuff that God called somebody to do. I remember one time before that I'm going to use me because I didn't ever want to be in front of people. I keep telling people I'm shy, so I didn't want to be in front of people.
We always laugh when you say that.
But Apostle appointed me to be able to be in front of people.
Right.
But I looked at myself and I didn't see what I saw in other people who were doing what I was doing. I was saying the ministry person that's going to be that person up front should look like this. I didn't dress well. I was on the husky side. And so I said, don't nobody want to hear anything from me. So I would try to find somebody that fit the bill and put them up there and say, here, take this monkey and preach this. I almost wrote the whole message out for them. Here's the whole thing. All you got to do is say this. And basically, I'm the puppeteer and hiding behind something and letting the puppet do all the work. And that's the same thing with feeding, taking on somebody else's monkey. They're saying, hey, take this on because you look like you can get it done. They see what skills and abilities you have. And they was like, with your gifting, you can do this too. And so before you look at, around and you see you got all these monkeys on you and you got bananas that you got to keep getting and feed. And after a while, you got, every time you turn around, you at somewhere trying to get bananas for people monkeys that's not yours.
Right.
And what I had to learn how to do with the wisdom of Chief Apostle Foreman is to put some monkeys down.
Right.
And he was like, pick one thing that you're going to do and leave all the rest of them alone. If I don't do them, pick one. Because when you got all these monkeys, you can't be effective in what you need to do.
Right.
And he needed me to do youth ministry. So I had to figure out whether I want to do music ministry, men's ministry, youth ministry, whether I want to be in recreation, whether I want to do all this other stuff. So I said, you know what? I see that mostly you wanted me to do youth ministry for a reason. And I see the most need where young people are struggling. They don't have that outlet. And I remember when I was younger, Margie was it for us.
Right.
I always say she was the first youth pastor that was unappointed. Because she used to bring us to her house, and we would stay there for a weekend. She'd feed us and give us a job, something to do. Amaji and Pastor Everett. Right. I can't do Amaji. Amaji used to be the one that did all the cooking, so we were motivated by the food. But a lot of times, so are monkeys. They are motivated by what they're getting fed.
I remember when that shift came and you pulled back from other things and you focused on the youth, man, that exploded.
That's when the ministry started.
And definitely that was an evangelistic hand that God had on you too, the anointing there to bring people from other places to just make our youth who they needed to be.
Right.
And a lot of those guys are now grown. Some of them are pastors.
Right. And I look back now and I was like, wow. All those times that you had a chance to build foundation in those young people. And I remember all the monkeys people gave me. There were some folks who, prison ministry was never my thing, but somebody said, hey, I know you would be good in prison ministry. Can you go take my spot? And so I went in prison ministry. I stayed there for 4.5 years. I probably won't supposed to be there for 4.5 years because I needed to focus on youth ministry. But I was there feeding that monkey. Was I good at it? There were some young people there that needed to hear that word. But there were some people there that were supposed to be there that weren't there. And so, but I was able to take some folks along with me. But that was a monkey I was feeding that began to grow on me, and I was like, I can't do all of that. I gotta do what God gave me to do. So I got one monkey, and it's easier to take a bushel of bananas and feed it to that one monkey. That one monkey gonna be happy.
Right.
You gonna be happy
Right.
because you can just break off another one and feed it to your monkey. But if you got a bunch of monkeys, before you know how, you out of bananas, and then your resources now you depleting yourself. But and when you that depleting of yourself is what makes folks quit. I was listening to a pastor today. Actually, he's a pastor, but he's also my professor in field education,
Okay.
Dr. Flowers. He was saying, "Man, don't quit." And the message, we've heard that message so many different times, but sometimes when you at a place where you're carrying so many monkeys, especially people in ministry, and you can't find folks to volunteer who want to serve, who want to take some of that responsibility from you, it's easy to say, I quit this thing because I can't handle it because I'm depleted of the bananas I need to feed all these monkeys.
Right.
When everybody else got bananas, but they ain't got no monkeys. And so you got to be able to identify. Let me identify. And that's what I really appreciate the wisdom of Apostle Foreman, who identify monkeys on other people. Because he may not have been doing ministry. He could have been that one who died in ministry. Because we know plenty of pastors who died in the pulpit.
Right.
Because they didn't have somebody, let me give you this monkey. Because you got bananas, take this monkey and feed the bananas you got. And he was wise enough to know, I got all these monkeys on me. I'm going to take these monkeys and I'm going to give them to other people. He got to the point where he was so good at giving people all the monkeys that was on him that he didn't have a one monkey.
Right.
And he didn't even bring keys to church anymore.
I remember
when
that.
he came, he come, his office is already open, ready for him. When he leaves, the office is locked up because he had people that had bananas that he gave that monkey, and he come in. He was like, he ain't got no keys. He got a key. He said he only had 2 keys. And I learned from that. I used to walk around with the janitor's keys. And a whole ring of them. You know, all of us like that. And you know, whatever needs to be open, I got the key to open it. And I had to get delivered from that because I had a janitor mentality. That I've got the keys, I'm going to open up everything. Because, you know, anytime something go wrong, they call the janitor, because the janitor the cleanup man.
Right.
And and when you the cleanup man, you get everybody's monkey. So I got rid of those keys, and I only got 2 keys. Got a key to the front door and a key to my office. That's it.
Right.
And people ask me, Pastor, can you let me in?
Nope.
I got a key to my office and the front door. That's it. That's my monkey.
Right.
And I got plenty of bananas for that monkey.
Right.
So you can't ask me, let you in here doing this. Pastor Isaac, you run a music ministry. I'm not going to be out there letting you in for music ministry because you need to rehearse. If Pastor Isaac, that's his monkey. He got a bunch of bananas. Well, he got more than a bunch of them because he's not only just music, he's also assistant pastor, and he working his teaching ministry, and he got sound check. So he got some monkeys already that he's working to feed.
So
he got his bananas that he working on. But people always will try to give the pastor, those people that they see up front, they always try to give you, I got this monkey that I want you to keep for me. And they may give it to you temporarily, but you end up keeping it for longer than you anticipate. So I'm just saying, feed your monkeys. And if everybody got their monkeys to feed, we gonna get a whole lot of stuff done. But ministry-wise, and you won't get burned out in ministry.
That's it.
When you feeding your monkey, because God gave you all the bananas you need to feed monkey. I got a lot of these food analogies, watermelons, damn bananas. But work on feeding them now. That monkey is going to be happy when you got your time to feed. Anyway, feed your own monkey.
Feed your own monkey. I'm going to make that the title of this. God bless you. Thank you again, Pastor
Good night.
Gary.
All right. Good blessings to you.